Brook Stockburger, Teddy and Brook Show. Let's get it going right off the bat. And obviously there's been a lot of chatter the last week and a half about Sim Bhullar. It seems for all intents and purposes he will declare for the NBA draft here in the coming day or days. Probably should have declared already. It's been the worst. Cat's been out of the bag for some time. But the question that has been posed to us, will Sim ever play in the NBA?
Wow, that actually rhymes too. The big guy from Canada, boy, just spent 2 years on the court here at NMSU. You know, he's huge, obviously. We all seen the billboard, the cutouts around town and everything, and people taking pictures with him. You think that would be great for the NBA, but, I think about people like Sean Bradley, who came out of BYU, remember all those years ago? Who was 7'6" and could never get it done in the NBA.
But he did play in the NBA.
He did play in the
for a long
NBA,
time.
and he tried to eat like 30,000 calories a day to put on some weight.
He was a high draft pick.
He was a high draft pick. But I'm thinking of people with height who just have never quite got it done. Will Sim even make it that far? If he does, it won't be for a while. I see him having to go overseas or playing in the developmental league or something like that.
I would agree with that. Clearly, his skills need developing. I think from a marketing standpoint, is there. Obviously, he's of Indian descent, 7'5". He has some real size to him. But clearly, his skills are not there, particularly from an offensive standpoint. People talk about his conditioning. I talk about skill development. I just don't think his offensive skill is really up to par at this point.
No, someone with his size who's going right into the NBA should be completely taking over games. He should have took over every Aggie game they played this year. Right. And he did. Now, he had injuries this year, too, so maybe some of those games it's not fair to say. And as you've pointed out before, I do believe, maybe the injuries are part of the impetus for this. Maybe he feels like I've got a ticking clock. There's only so much time for me to make money in basketball, so that's not bad.
I can understand the sense of urgency for him to come back because you bring up the injuries, of course. If he gets hurt again, a foot injury again, that's not something he really can afford. And his playing window probably isn't that long. I mean, I just can't see Sim playing till he's 31 or 32. I mean, he's 7'5", so his playing window is only so big, and therefore the opportunity to make money is probably only there for so long. Brook, we probably should move on.
But it would be great. I wish him all the best. I hope he does great.
Yeah, no doubt. I believe you were going to pose a question about the Aggie spring.
Well, you were at the Aggie spring football game, the night game. It sounded like it was pretty interesting. But what was the biggest surprise there?
The weather. No, I'm kidding. The weather was incredible. It felt like it was November out there. Clearly, the biggest surprise for me was the play of quarterback Tyler Rogers, junior college transfer from Arizona Western. He really stood out. I mean, I didn't doubt that he was a good player, but I didn't know how he would look. It's obviously, and again, it's just a spring game. Obviously, we have to see him against a real pass rush. There's certain things we need to see in game situations, and I do think the Aggie defense has some shortcomings, but Tyler was very accurate. He showed good arm strength. He really showed an ability to lead the team. He put the ball on the money, short, intermediate, and the deep passing zones, and his receivers look good. The receiving unit has been an area of strength in recent years, a well-coached group. They caught the football very well. Defensively, I do think the team is very young. I do think they will be more organized and better structured with Coach Coyer, Larry Coyer, their defensive coordinator. But I do think the Aggies could be in for some shootouts this year. Let's move on. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, how's their health coming out of spring?
It looks good to me. Brandon Betancourt, who was a bright spot last year at running back, it looks like he could get back out in the field. He suffered a serious foot injury. It was described to me, it was like a torn ACL, but in the foot. It just sounds just very uncomfortable. Yeah, it does. But I believe he should at least have an opportunity to get back on the field. I know one of their tight ends, Andy Dean, had an ankle injury. But nothing very serious. I would think all those guys should be ready to go in the fall. So that's a positive as well. Yeah. Prep baseball, prep softball, and of course it's the Cruces-Mayfield rivalry on both ends. I know you've been following this extremely closely, so why don't you give a quick analysis here?
Yes, Mayfield obviously is doing well. Cruces is struggling in the win-loss, but Cruces is a team that could surprise anybody.
They really could. Mayfield's 7-1 in district. I believe Cruces is 1-6 or 1-7. I think they're 1-6. But in any event, it can go either way. On the softball diamond, Cruces High has 2 district losses. Actually, they have 3 district losses. Mayfield's taken some lumps. Clearly, the Cruces-Mayfield baseball game has some interest because Mayfield's been playing at a very good level. Both games, both doubleheaders scheduled to start at 11 a.m. Our last question is posed about the Paso Chihuahuas. Something popped up in the newsroom. Whether it's true or not is an entirely different story. But that scalpers are offering tickets behind home plate for $1,300. Brook, I know for a fact I would never pay $1,300 to go to an Paso Chihuahuas game. Where do you stand?
I wouldn't pay $1,300 to be behind home plate in Game 7 of a World Series in the Bronx. I couldn't pay $1,300, and maybe it's a moot point.
This is a relative scale. Actually.
I'm curious to go down and see the park down there, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. But I mean, that kind of money for a minor league opener is just outrageous.
I honestly, if I could afford it, and that's a big if, that's capital I, capital F, I would consider paying $1,300 for a ticket, but not in this case, not for AAA baseball, absolutely not. We have to go. Have a great week, have a great day. At Teddy Fiber, at B Stockburger, see ya.